Hi, it's Tiffany Lorraine Galloway, certified high performance coach, with another episode of the Resilient Mother podcast. In May, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, resilient love. And mothers are the ones that know this best. Today, I have a returning guest, Catherine Tyson. She has a special love story that she wants to share with us for this theme this month. Thanks for coming back and having us. You look fabulous today. Please give us a little introduction for those that may not know who you are.
Okay, well, hi there. I'm Catherine Tyson Sewell, and I am a social worker by profession. I'm a family counselor and an author, and I work with the community a lot. I work with ladies, finding their power within, and I love my mother community. I started off as a single mother, and after getting married, and it didn't work out, and I started off, with my whole kind of claim to fame as a single mother. I wrote a book about that many years back when they were just younger ones. And so I really believe in the power within and how we can just kind of create our own destiny to ensure that our kids are okay and we're okay. So I'm all about that.
Well, you've already defined resilience for me in the last episode. Since we're talking about love, can you give me your definition, your thoughts around that word and its meaning in your life?
Well, yeah, I mean, love is everywhere, right? And as a single mother in my life, my love kind of was defined by these people who loved me unconditionally, my little kids. And so I started off as a young girl, my journey with these little kids, just loving me and me loving them, and thinking that I'd find someone else or someone else would find me to love me in a romantic way, because that's what I did not have. And for some reason, it just kept eluding me, or it just kept showing up in different ways. And the ways that it showed up were not kind of acceptable to me, I guess, because of maybe the damage that could have done to my kids, or maybe it was good for me, but it wasn't good for them, or it was good for one of them, but not the others. And it was just a whole mess. So yeah. I think realizing that real love is just, what you're surrounded with and the people that show up for you and that are there for you and make you the best that you can be. And that's love. That's my definition of love. So it's not necessarily something that we have to go and find, but it's kind of around us already if it's already good. And we just have to value it and appreciate it, even though we may not have the one that we're looking for per se. It's just kind of sit into the one that we already have.
So there's two things I'd love to talk about around love, and then I want to get to your story in particular. One is having self-love, because I think you have to start there. And you have to be able to love yourself fully in order to attract the right love in your life, but also to teach your children to love themselves. So what would you say to that subject?
Absolutely. And I think for ladies and me being no different, we really have to journey to self-love sometimes. Sometimes self-love is not a natural thing. It's not, it's not the thing that we wake up every day and we feel. And so in my experience, I kind of felt that, as I journeyed towards Catherine and what she needed and what was, going to make her life better, it was real experience. So I think self-love is definitely the number one priority. When you're a mother, of course, loving your children and taking care of your children and your responsibilities is priority, but also so are you. So I think really looking at that woman in the mirror and just valuing her and just knowing that she kind of needs you to show up for her. She needs you to go to bat for her. She needs you to say no to certain things for her. She just needs you to be there for her. And so I think self-love is just the first place to start.
And how would you say the power of motherly love changed your life? I think becoming a mother, you have this new definition of love.
Yeah. Well, I realize, and I tell people this all the time, my first child, he was about 6 months old and he was sitting on my lap, and I had just taken him out of the bath, and he was just there, just doing his thing. And I was reaching for something. I was reaching for, I don't know, maybe baby powder. And he's 35, so it could have been the days when baby powder was okay. Right? Yeah. We have to be careful nowadays, right? What's not good. So I was reaching for it. And as I was reaching for it, he he leaned forward also, and he was, he was just a little, just out of the bath. So he was a little wet, and he was a little, just on his own, and he almost fell off my leg. And I was 21 years old, and I grabbed him and I was like, hey, you almost fell. And he looks up at me like, you got me.
Aw.
And it was literally, I thank God for that moment, really, because at 21 years old, I realized I got somebody here that thinks I got them. And
Mm.
so I gotta have them. And I'm telling you, it was as clear as day, that experience that solidified for me what my responsibility was as a mother. It was no longer to just think about Catherine. It was to
Mhm.
think about another human being. And then I had another child, and then I had another child. And so it just magnified even more. But
Yeah.
my responsibility no longer was just to me and what I needed, but to honor them and what was going to be good for their life, to allow them to be healthy, happy human beings. So, yeah, I believe as a mother and as parents, it's huge. And from that day on, my 6-month-old baby looked at me like, "You got this." And I was like, "Okay."
It's
So
amazing how they inspire us and help
that,
us to grow.
yes, 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 definitely.
So, what is your story romantically with love? I'm a single mom, so I know the whole like divorce thing and not quite getting the right relationship yet, but you have been remarried and now have a whole new chapter and a whole new experience with love. I'd love to hear about that.
Well, I'll tell you, it's not as simple as it sounds, right? It's also a journey, and it's
Mhm.
a journey to this. So, like other women, I have been approached many times in my single life as a mother, and I've dated, and I have my dating stories, and I need to do a dating book. And just kind of stops and starts, and as I call it in my first book, kissing a lot of frogs did not turn into princes. And then
Yeah.
eventually saying, all right, I'm tired of this. Okay. And then, okay, let's start looking at the things early, let's look at the red flags. Let's look at, and so by the time I got to this love, I think I had made up my mind that I wanted to I wanted to make a list of what I did not want. And I think the making the list of what you want is the obvious thing, right? And I had done the what you want list. And I feel like the what you want list is cool, and so you're looking for those things. And when you see them, you're like, great, I got it. Here we go. But because of some of the things that had happened prior to that, like, meeting different people, meeting people that were older, meeting people that were the same age, and just a mess, just so much of a mess. And it was just this period of my life that was just so chaotic. And my children were grown at this point. They were all in college, some were out of college. So it really was my time. I didn't have to think about anyone else. And it's really difficult sometimes for women to think about themselves. So as long as I thought about some kids, and I thought about protecting people, I was very clear. Nope, you can't work. Nope, that's not going to work. But when it's just you, for some reason, that's where the self-love comes in, that you have
Mhm.
to face yourself and say, hey, lady, you got to protect you. You have to take care
Mhm.
of you. You can't just put up with anything. You just can't accept anything, because my daughter said something to me when I think she was like 18 or 19, and she said, just because you can handle it doesn't mean you should.
Ooh.
And she just gave me nuggets like my whole life. Like, she's literally the definition of myself, just magnified. And so all her life, she's kind of given me that. And that was one thing she said, just because you can take it, like women think, and she was specifically talking about women of color. She's like, for some reason, women of color think that we should suffer, but just because we can suffer doesn't mean we should. And I just thought, brilliant. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And so I think I've gotten to that point in my life where I was like, okay, just because I can take it doesn't mean I should. And so I started shutting down the things that I would accept for myself, and started thinking about the things that I would shut down if it were my kids. And so by this point in my life, I decided to make a list of what I do not want. That is brilliant.
Yes.
You think talking about what you want is huge? You should talk about what you don't want. Because I think what happens when you say what you want, like I said, you see it and you go, oh, good, he's it. But when you start saying what you don't want, as soon as you see it, you can tell yourself, deal breaker. So you don't you're not invested. You're not getting yourself into something that the heart gets all wrapped up in. You can't walk away because, you're in love. You know how that is. Ladies, we know,
Yeah.
right?
The first 90-day hormones. Yeah.
Exactly. You're lonely and you're just tired. I don't know about most women. You're just tired of dating. I don't know. Dating is tough, right? Getting to know new people and oh gosh, so sometimes you're like, you're my guy, right? You're it. Let's just be happy.
Make it work.
And so we'll make it work. And women, you know us, especially mothers, we can make it work. So
Doesn't mean we have to, though.
It doesn't mean it. Thank you. My 18-year-old daughter. Yeah. So really I made that list of what I do not want. And so as soon as I saw it, it was like, nope. Like I literally put on there, I don't want a person who tells me lies. Like, the basic stuff, right?
Basics. Yeah.
But it's huge.
Yeah.
And literally, if you tell me a story and it doesn't pan out, then that's a lie. So sometimes, sometimes we can excuse a little, well, he said that he was, but all right, no.
Red
A
flag.
lie is a lie. Yeah. So if you told me that you worked until 11 last night and you actually worked until 9 and you got off a little early, but you still left the 11 in my mind, it's a lie. So I was able to really just stand up for me, just show up for me and say to myself, Catherine, no, that's a lie. And so if someone would lie about something so simple, then what would happen if it's a bigger thing? Okay.
Yes.
So yeah. So my list of things that I didn't want were just and I started talking about, I want someone like myself. I want someone who what you see is what you get, who is honest to a fault, who is dependable, who's loyal, who's not, like all the things that I like about myself. I thought, I want somebody like that. I think that would be cool. It might be boring, but it might be cool. I was tired of the opposites attract type of thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so I took literally 3 weeks or 4 weeks after I had said this to the universe. Why can't I just find someone who I met Ramon, who's his name, my husband. I met him and I met him at this function we call it's a festival that we have in the Cayman Islands, and I was in the Cayman Islands, and I met him, and we were just standing next to each other, and it started to rain because I was in the street dance. I was dancing in the middle of the streets, and living my best life. Just on the cusp of 50. And I was dancing, and then it started to rain, so I went to shelter, and then I stood next to this guy, and then we started commenting about the performances on stage and stuff like that, and we talked for about 1 hour just standing next to each other. And at the end of that, he said, yeah, you could give me your number, or I could give you my number. And I was like, how old are you? And he said, how old do you think? And I told him what I thought. And he was like, yeah, about that. And I was like, that's too young, And when I told him my age, he was like, what? You're no way. And he asked his friend, he was like, how old do you think she is? And so everybody was just like, this woman is not going to be 50. That's insane. She's amazing. And so it was just in my mind, like, yeah, how cute. And then he gave me his number. And I said, yeah, I'll call you. And he said, call me right now. So he could have the number. So I called him, and then he saved the number. And then the next morning, I got this beautiful text. Morning, it was so great to meet you. I think you're lovely. And yeah, if you want to chat, if you want somebody to talk to, I'm here. Maybe we could just, catch up sometimes. And ever since then, I've gotten a text every morning. Good morning. I
Aww,
love
I love
you.
that.
No, I know it's so corny, right?
And that's like a bonus. You didn't even ask for that. That was like extra that the universe is like,
Right.
here you go. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And so at some point, of course, in about like a month later, I was like, this is no, he's too young. This is not it. And I said,
Mm.
God, I know what I asked you for, but I forgot to tell you how old I wanted him to be. And I felt the wrath of God. He was like, "You are such an ungrateful woman," like. And
Ooh.
so I kind of battled through that, whether or not, you know, whether women can date younger men, and because that was one of my never, I would never. That literally was one of my I would never. Can you
Mm,
imagine? I said that to myself so many times. I would never date a younger man because I'm not naturally a vain person, but I always thought if there's anything vain about me, it would be that. I don't want to be looking like someone's mother,
mm.
right? And that's not the case, thankfully, because I've aged well, and he thinks I'm the most beautiful woman in the world, which is amazing. And
Aw.
yeah, and if anyone has a problem with age, it's generally me. But I battled for a while, for a few months, to make a decision. Should I go for this? And we were just friends, And then at some point, it was really kind of like the universe and my friends just saying, it's like, no, some young woman needs him. Some young. It's like, well, what about you? Well, don't you think that you? Oh, and well, stop doing that to yourself. And so I had to fight through it. But what I found in him was just this amazing human being that, like I said before that, I was dating men my age, older. They were just a hot mess. And
Mhm.
he was not. And he was everything that I asked for. And here we are, almost 7 years later.
Okay, so
And we
here's
got,
the question. Was
yeah,
it worth the wait?
absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, it was. Of course, I think about it would have been so great to have met a Ramon when I was 30 or 31 or 35, but I didn't. So, yeah, it's really, I'm thankful for what God has brought me at this point in my life. I have a person that is dedicated to me, that is dedicated to our family, that is he's loyal, he's beautiful, he's romantic, he's lovely, and he's in love with me. And yeah, I'm very happy with our little boring life of no lies and no lies and no questions and no, what you see is what you get. I'm very happy with that. So yeah, it was worth it. And it exists too,
What are
which is
some things and
important.
habits that you've created in this relationship to keep enriching that love and keep it alive?
So one of the things that we do, we check in on each other pretty regularly. So, if he's on his way home, he tells me he's on his way home. If he's, we think alike, which is great, because it is what I asked for, and the universe. And so, the same way that I think that when you're in a relationship, you have to, you answer to each other. I know people don't like that. I know people think that, oh, that's control. We don't look at it as control, because I don't feel controlled and I know he doesn't feel controlled. It's just the respect that we feel that each other needs in a relationship. So we have less secrets than people generally think is okay to have. And it's because we think alike, that we don't think secrets is a good thing, you know?
Mhm.
Of course, there's not going to be everything that I would know about his conversations with his friends or his family members, and vice versa, because some things, we don't necessarily have to share. But if we need to share it with each other, we can. We're not holding it back. It's just that I might have a conversation with my adult children, and it could be something that, it's an issue that we're dealing with, and I may talk to him about it, but I might not. But it's not an issue. It's not going to be something that's going to interfere with our relationship. So that's what I mean. I'm not saying that every single thing, oh look, I have to check in with him. No, but it is respect. So we
Yeah,
do know what the
genuine
other is
care and
doing.
concern, and I love you, how are
Yeah.
you doing? And And communication is huge. So having good communication is not something anyone should knock, because we have a generation that's really struggling with that right now. And I think it's
Absolutely.
essential to know the language of love for the person that you're going to partner with for your life, because everyone's love language is a little different. So if you find one that works for you, you should embrace it.
Bingo. That there is a bingo. The love language. And I think that our love language is quite similar. And so communication is one of them. Information is one of them. Not having secrets. He buys me flowers all the time because I love flowers.
Oh,
I love just little small thought thoughtful gifts. I don't necessarily um, need the big expensive stuff because I can get my own. I can get my stuff. We can get our stuff. But it's, did you think about me? Oh, I think she'd like this. Like I noticed that she's always writing in a little book. So she likes these little books. So I'm going to pick this little book up for her. And I love that. I love just little thoughtful gifts that you really thought about me when you went to pick it up. And I love cards, so I get cards all the time. And
what do you
yeah,
do for
just
him?
simple things. What do I do? What do I do for him? Okay, so what I learned about my husband is Jamaican, and
Mm,
so and every all the Caribbean islands are not the same. So I am from a Caribbean island. It's the Cayman Islands, but he's from Jamaica. It's not one size fits all. So what he loves is he loves to know that I am thinking about what he's going to have for dinner.
mm.
If it's Sunday, he wants to know that I've thought about his breakfast, his lunch, and his dinner. So if I'm mad with him, um, and there's no food, then that's like the worst thing. Like,
Mm.
wow, you didn't think about what I was going to eat. And I know that's simple. That sounds simple to people listening right now, but it's important to him. And he was raised with a mom and a dad. Like they were together for 36 years. His mom passed away. So he's used to seeing two people walk like one. And he's used to seeing very traditional roles. His mom dealt with this, his dad dealt with that. And so when I learned that about him, then I realized, okay, that's important. And so yeah, so I do that. And he also likes self-care too. He's a big tough guy, but he likes the manicures and the stuff, like little things to make him feel like he's special. He goes out, he works hard for his family, he cares for us, he provides for us. And so I do those little things for him. So yeah. But
I love that.
that's also learning your partner too, because maybe someone else that might not be a big deal.
Yeah. And I think that you just hit it right there. I mean, you deepen and make your relationships more meaningful when you think about the other person and how could I delight them today? How could
Right.
I make them feel special today? And if you never lose that, because we have it initially in dating, but it needs to continue beyond and be a part of marriage as well. I think
Right.
people forget that you're still courting each other and you can make it's not a ball and chain thing. It's a delight to delight somebody
Absolutely.
else, to love
Absolutely.
somebody else, to enrich somebody else's life, to be
Uh,
wanted, to be needed, and to walk one in one. And that's where the
yep.
most beautiful relationships happen, is when you can walk side by side, hand in hand through life and find the ways that work for you. And everyone is
Yep.
going to be a little different. And
Yeah.
it's those little things. What's that little thing I can do today? And so it's not these huge things. It's not this huge trip to Hawaii or the big things you were talking about. It's really in simple, everyday little habits that you've set for each other.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, and those, if trips are it for you, well, then make sure that you're planning those trips too.
Right.
But yeah, it really is about learning your partner and just delighting your partner. What does your partner need? And I think for me, what I learned in the whole process too is that it is really cool to find people that are similar to yourself,
Mm,
because it takes the guesswork out of things.
mm,
So little things like the things that I might consider boring, but because my husband likes that, we're great. Wherein, another relationship where that's not what that person wanted, then it's boring. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like they're like, oh
Yeah.
God, I'm bored to death. I need this, I need this, I need the other. And so you're sitting there like, oh gosh, well, I don't want that. I don't want that. And so you're constantly trying to be something for someone else that doesn't even make you feel comfortable. So you're not happy in your life. You're not actually being the best that you can be. So you can't give your best to that person. And no matter
Yeah.
how much you try, you can turn yourself inside out to try to be something for someone else. If it's not naturally who you are,
Mm.
eventually you're not going to be happy. And that person is probably feeling that anyway, because you're not, if it's not naturally something that you do, but you're doing it, they can kind of tell that the zest isn't there. It's the weirdest
Mm.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having the passion for yourself as an individual and for as a couple, the things you enjoy together and the things that you enjoy as individuals is important. And being that
Right.
model for your kids. And you guys are blessed to have a baby together,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is kind of a miracle in a way. Yes or
Yeah.
no? I could be off there.
Sorry. Sorry. Say that
Was
again.
that kind
Sorry.
of a miracle or a surprise, or was that
Well, yes, yeah, no, and yes. So when I met him, um, I was on the cusp of turning 50, and that was one of the things we talked a lot, you know. And so in the beginning, when we finally decided that we would kind of cross the threshold of friendship to being in a relationship, he was very clear. He had no children. And he was clear that he wanted kids. And so it was, would you be interested in having kids? Like that would be the only question that I would have about you and I. I'm not concerned about anything else, but I definitely want to have children. Do you want to have more children? So from the very beginning, we were very honest, and I was, you know, he gave that to me, so I had to think about it, and I had to make a decision, you know. And I think what happens in relationships as well is that sometimes you meet someone that you like or that you're crazy about, and you put these things in the background, like, yeah, of course, but you know, in the back of your head, you're like, no, I'm not interested in that, but I want that person, and that's not fair. And so
mm,
because, you know, I was able to think, no, I'm not going to lie about this, and I'm not going to pretend because, you know, he's a great guy. It's like, all right, do I really want that for me?
mm,
And would I be willing to do that? And so the answer was yes at that time, because I was, you know, turning 50. And yeah, that never went away. It was always in both of our minds that, you know, and for me, I'm a mother, and me being a mother is the delight of my life. So I'd never ever want to cheat someone of that if they wanted to do that. And that's
yeah,
very important to me, that you know, it's the greatest thing in my life, right? I have a lot of accolades. I have academics, and I have a great career. But being a mother is an amazing gift. And so I would never ever tell someone to miss it if they wanted it, and I'd never stand in the way of somebody missing that. So that was a big consideration in the beginning. And we got engaged 2 years after we met. We got married 4 years after we met, and we had a baby 5 years after we met. So we had the couple thing. Yeah, we had the whole. We enjoyed life. We had, if I'd write it, that's how I would write it for anybody. I'd say, enjoy yourself as a couple, have a have a great time, settle down, and then, and then think about having a child, which I didn't do the first time. And so I'm kind of living that over right now. So we have a baby. She's 1, and she's
oh,
amazing. And
oh.
yeah, so it wasn't a surprise, and it was always in the cards.
I love your story because, 1, it was worth the wait, and 2, it's look how beautifully it turned out. You could have never predicted that it would come in a way that you didn't expect and then work out so beautifully.
Right. Yep, definitely. Yeah, for sure. And I get to finally experience, you know, that thing that I thought I had when I was 20, and would have always wanted when I was 30, when I was 40, when I was 50, and I got it. And I really thank God for that. And yeah, very happy about it. And I get to almost like relive it, start over a little bit. I've been here before, but it's different now because I have this amazing supportive husband and amazing present father. I have my 3 older children that are a part of our lives, and I have a granddaughter. And so it's the most bizarre story. I think I've not heard the story yet anywhere else, but I'm sure it exists. But it's bizarre, but it's beautiful. And my children are so supportive and so incredible. My husband is incredible. It's just, I mean, who'd have thunk it, right?
Right, right. And I think that's the beautiful thing about love. It's universal. There's enough of it to fill the universe, and it really works
Yeah,
miracles in our lives. And I think it's really the way God shows us what's possible.
yeah,
That he
yeah,
wants to bless us, and that often he is, but sometimes we don't see it until later. I think hindsight is 2020 when we look back,
yeah,
and then we can't take for granted what we have. In my own
right,
experience, I'm more grateful because I know what was back there. I don't want to look back there too much, but it makes me appreciate what I have now. And it also
yeah,
gives me faith for where I'm going. So if you haven't found
absolutely.
your love mate yet, I hope this story inspires you as well.
Yes,
And just know that keep loving resiliently, love yourself, create those boundaries, create that checklist, and ask the universe for what you really desire. And then you might be surprised what happens.
yeah, and don't count yourself out. I mean, that's the thing. Like, if anything that I would say about my story is that the hope exists. Like, don't feel like hoping is is a moot point. Like, it literally is a part of the process, and creating your own destiny. For me, leaving yourself open to loving, because I know love can really knock us around and bruise us and just have us kind of hidden, like, oh, I don't want to try that again, oh my god. But we can't do that. We literally have to shed that. We have to believe that God's got us,
Yes.
and that he's carrying us, and that we're going to be okay. And when we start doing that, when we start relaxing and opening ourselves up, the things that we attract are so different than the ones that we repel when we have this, this almost like this hard shell. And I feel like that's exactly what happened to me. And 3 or 4 weeks before I met my husband now, that's what happened to me, is that I was just kind of just relaxed and said, you know what, I'm not going to believe that it's not there, regardless of what I've just seen, regardless of the mess, that it took me right here. I'm not going to not believe. And I'm going to believe in love, and I'm going to believe that people are out there, and that I have to actively be a part of it. So I don't want this. I don't want that. So that was me actively being a part of it, and not just kind of walking into these blind situations and going, hey, I guess, yeah, I can work with them. No, I don't want this. I don't want that. And being okay with saying, no, I'd rather be over here by myself. My life over here is not bad. I have a great single life. I have a great, amazing life. I have some adult children. I have friends. I have an amazing life. My career is amazing. So I'm not going to just be so desperate, because that's what happens sometimes. We desperately hold on to these things that's not feeling right. They're not right. Our gut's telling us that. And so you have to be strong enough and brave enough to say, nope, I'm not going to have that. Nope, this is what I don't want. This is what I don't want. I wait here until I get it. And I know that sounds cliche, but it is the truth. It
Well,
really
and I
is.
think you
Sometimes
also
you
are
gotta
hitting
wait.
on this concept that some people have, that like, I will be whole when this person's going to fulfill this. And
No,
what you
no.
did is you were whole yourself, and then
You
you were
gotta
loving
fill
yourself.
yourself.
And
Yes.
then you were able to recognize and attract the right person. And then you were able to complement each other. And
Yes.
and and that just enhanced both of you. Instead
Yeah.
of thinking that your other half is out there somewhere. I don't like that saying, because if you're not whole first, you're not going to be able to show up. You're not
Right.
going to be
Right.
able to, they won't be able to love you if you don't know what love looks like for you. If you don't know your own
Right.
love language, if you don't
Right.
know yourself, if you haven't done that inner work, no one else can do that for you.
Right.
So you
Yeah.
got to do that first.
And you can't fix other people. That's another
Mm-mm,
thing too. So you have to do
mm-mm.
your own self-work for sure, but you cannot do other people's work. And I think with women, we're the fix it committee. We just think, We can help you with that. You just need a good woman to help. No, 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 honey. If he is a hot mess, he is a hot mess. And you are just
Mm,
going to get yourself involved in a hot mess. And the next
amen.
thing you know, you might end up being a hot mess. And I had to
Hmm.
learn that, and so that's huge. And you also have to realize that people have to bring things to the table. They might not be the same things. They might not be the things you think they should bring. Like, you might think that they need to bring a lot of money or a lot of you might think that, and that might not be what they need to bring, because you may have a lot of money. You may have the ability to make your own money. So you know what I mean? And I'm not telling ladies to go pick up a broke guy. That's not what I'm
No,
saying.
no, no, no.
But I'm also not but I'm also not saying that you should be focused on trying to get a rich guy. Like you need to be looking at your life and looking entirely at the substance of things and the foundation of things. And are you able to work with this particular thing, and can you increase together in some areas, or are they so broken in some areas that if you take that on, regardless of them having a lot of money, it's still going to be a wreck in your life? So I just think we need to start really
Mhm.
just looking at things from a very different standpoint, you
Yeah.
know?
Do you
Um,
complement each other? Do you add to each other's life? Not one
Absolutely.
person adds more than the other. Both parties should be able to add value to each other. And that's what your
Exactly.
relationship sounds like, is the way that you
Yeah.
complement each other and you're able to see that need and need it in each other and you want to. It's not that you feel like you have to because you want to.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And what I have thought that, 6 years, almost 7 years, what I have thought that, I met this guy that's younger than me, what I have thought that I would have this amazing relationship with this amazing human being, who literally goes to work for our family every single day. And if I want to work, I can work. If I don't want to work, I don't have to work. Would I have thought that? Absolutely not. I mean, but that's what I have. And I'm very thankful for that. So sometimes what I'm saying to the listeners or the viewers is that sometimes it doesn't look the way you think it should look. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's going to come in a different package. And so instead of you saying, no, absolutely not, I'm holding out for this, maybe what you're holding out for, you might have missed what was presented because you were holding out for something else that you had not even really given enough thought to.
Yeah.
And you find yourself in a situation that you thought would have been great because of these things. So I just think, like, we really have to look at life, and
Well, and I
and I
think
believe
too,
that
you've gotta listen to
foundation.
God there. I think
Yeah,
God knows what you need. We think we know what we want, but God knows what you need. And when you
yeah,
can really listen to him, I think then you can recognize when the right person shows up. Because if you're
right,
not listening to God, you might miss who that was, and they showed up and they're already gone. And he's like, I sent you this guy, I sent you that guy. You missed him because you're
right,
too focused on what you see, but I see the whole picture. I see everything that I want for you. And
right,
I agree
right.
with you. You just got to be open for what God's love looks like for you. It's often
Yeah,
way better than we thought of what we wanted for ourselves, and we can be
yep,
delighted in that.
yeah.
Thank you so
And
much for sharing your
thank
story. Any
you.
last thoughts? It's a beautiful story.
Yeah, just that. Just leave yourself open. Ladies, don't lose hope. Work on you first. Make sure that you're okay. Make sure that you've done the work that you need to do. And I always tell people this, if you've heard something about yourself more than 2 or 3 times, it's probably true. So if someone says, "God, you're a little selfish," and you've heard that a couple of times, maybe you want to look at yourself, or maybe you're a little demanding, like whatever it is. If you've heard it a couple of times, just look at yourself to see if there may be something in there that could be the truth, and start working on that.